Hi and welcome to Spiritual Link the Podcast, a podcast about how developing spiritual well-being can help you in your daily life, and how that can enhance your confidence in who you are and what you are. The podcast is hosted by Ines and Tor. Ines is a development medium with over 30 years of experience in the field, and Tor has been her apprentice since 2013. In this episode, we talk about extrasensory perception. You can support us by sharing the episode on your social media channels, subscribing to our podcast, and leaving a review. Remember, you can always find us on @spirituallinkco on Instagram. Hey Ines, here we are again.
Hey Thor, and here we are. Absolutely, yes, another Friday.
How's
Yes,
how's your week been?
not bad at all. I mean, it's cold, which is nice. The walks are brisk, and the streets are pretty empty, but it's
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But we're all doing the same thing, so fine. I'm just hoping we can get rid of short of this. The travel industry and the hospitality industry are trying to come up with a way to get us flying again, if we so choose. So say you get a package holiday to Spain, that the package includes the COVID testing at this end,
Mm-hmm.
and that the COVID testing is also available at that end. It's all part of the same price.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So what the good thing is, it means that we can slowly start spreading our wings again a little teeny weeny itty bitty bit.
Yeah, I mean that would
Yeah.
be great. I know
Yeah.
I know a lot of people misses that. So and obviously to
Yeah.
save the hospitality industry as well, because
Mm.
otherwise it will go every airline will basically go under basically.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I know. And anyway, no, it's been good. Thank you very much. And you've been well too, haven't you? With
Yeah,
your
back to work this week, which was a good start. I was sort of having a bit of like, oh, back to work, been on annual leave for quite a long time, and first day back. But
yeah,
it was quite all right. It's quite good to like see my boss and be a part of the
yeah,
team basically,
good.
which was
Yeah.
good.
And yeah,
Um,
you're absolutely right that being part of a team, and that actually gets us to today's sort of thoughts, which is of course again communication. Out of body was also communication, and I thought we'd tackle ESP, if that's all right, because you're very good at ESP, Thor. Very good. And this is obviously, I thought we would delve into it, how ESP works and why it works a little bit. And extrasensory perception, of course, means that we are perceiving what is outside the normal functions of the five senses. And what happens is that we're creating a thought. I have a thought now, say for yourself. There are two thoughts, two minds, and I'm sending you a thought of whatever it is, not necessarily facing you. And somewhere along that thought is like an energy. Some people say it's a light. It's an energy force that comes from the third eye, the center of the forehead. And these thoughts have to meet. Somewhere along the line, they meet in the middle. Now, what of course happens, sometimes it doesn't totally work because the two lights or energy forces just miss each other, and they can miss each other only because there is lack of concentration, also sometimes receptivity on behalf of the other individual. As soon as our mind strays a little bit, say we're doing an exercise together and I am sending you something, and whatever, and through practice and whatnot, and then all of a sudden it gets very bad, you do not perceive it. It's possibly lack of concentration. Something else has come into your mind. So when these two lights come together, we are actually drawing, let us say myself, I am sending. You are drawing the information out of my mind, which is also an energy force. All thought is energy. Everything that we're doing is energy, meaning is an electrical force. So it also is very applicable, and I'm certain many of the people who are listening have had this happening, that the phone rings and you think, oh yeah, that's so-and-so, or you're thinking of someone, And lo and behold, they call in the next minute, or you get a telegram or some email or something like that. And again, because we are all sensitive, you are literally picking up the thought, even though they, let's say they live in Singapore, a long way off from London. That thought, which is sent by the mind, is quicker than any phone call on the planet. So you are picking up the thought as that person is ready to dial your number. You're picking up that thought. So as soon as it rings, you know who it is because the thoughts have come together. You know exactly who is on that other end. So the same thing can happen. And I liken this also in our out-of-body experiences. We all have a spiritual DNA. And that spiritual DNA is our DNA. Nobody else has it. It's like our fingerprints. It is us. It's like the retinas. That belongs to ourselves. So if you have, say, a cordless phone, and you are thinking, yes, we have to put in a number in. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to call Thor. So I have the number in front of me. I only have to press one button, but my mind has already gone to Thor. So if I am strong enough with the ESP with Thor, he doesn't actually have to pick up the phone for verbal communication. All he has to do, hello, Inez, hi there, either verbally, or we can do it internally as well. And there are actually quite a number of people who are so proficient with extrasensory perception that they no longer have to use any form of communication, such as, the telephone or the internet or anything like that. They don't have to do that. And strangely enough, when you may have heard people sending healing, thoughts of healing and so on, the thoughts of healing are also sent on the same waves as extrasensory perception, because it is, again, a thought that is transmitted from one individual to the other. I've done this many times. You have the name of Joy. That's the name I get given to somebody. Joy wants healing. So I send thoughts to Joy. Now, there must be a whole slew of joys on this planet, also in different languages. They would also be called joy. The guides that are with us would know which joy it was that had asked for that healing. So we have two guides working together, and we have two minds also working together. So then I would home in. It's like pressing a spiritual DNA or spiritual telephone number, and I'm sending to Joy. So when Joy receives it, sometimes people are very aware when they receive distant healing, very aware. You can levitate, all manner of situation. You can feel warmth, you can feel happy, you name it, or you can feel nothing, doesn't matter. But as soon as that thought is sent, Joy's body will take in the power of healing from that is being sent, which is positive energy, and will then reinstate her own immune system for healing to take place. So that is also ESP, the power and the strength of healing. So the more, let's say, explicit, I mean, again, the point of concentration is, and the stronger it is, the clearer the direction happens to be with any individual. When we have done, I don't know if you do this, Thor, when you practice with others, but when I have done, say, transmitting colors, there are always three. And then I put them down, say red, green, red, green, yellow.
Purple.
Yeah, yellow. Purple. That's a hard one. Okay, red, green, yellow is I tend to use. So I have them written down, and I will also have a piece of colored paper. But then I block off the other two so that my mind, which is physical, does not stray to another color. And then inadvertently, I'm sending a mishmash to that other individual. So it has to be very explicit and very precise of what we're doing. So when we talk of ESP, we're not talking about the aura which is around us, which is also called spirit. We're talking about the spirit with a small s, let's say, that is within ourselves. And that spirit is able to link and literally guide that electrical force of extrasensory perception to wherever we want to do it. This communication is vitally important. It's not just a game. It's very important. Sometimes, if it is that strong, the need is strong, the direction is strong, you can actually send a voice. It won't be your own voice to the other recipient. And you can just say, call home. This is before, let's say, before we had cell phones strapped around our neck. And I remember having to call Owen. I knew he was on the road. And how to call, and I concentrated and I sent him a message, call home, call me, in other words. He got it verbally. And so he did stop someplace and made a call. So it can be very, very powerful. These energy waves, that energy fields, what we are talking about, they go over all manner of distances. Once, my daughter, this again, not that long ago, but before we had cell phones as a form of norm, she went to a leisure center. She became dizzy and she fainted in a hall. So she told me afterwards. She was by a telephone. She did not have the ability to pick up a phone nor the coins to put into the telephone thing. And her thoughts went out to me. Help. And I knew roughly where she had gone. And so I went to the leisure center and I found her. So extrasensory perception is invaluable, not just because you're going to save on telephone bills or internet bills, but it helps in so many different ways of SOS between those that are very close to, to you. Thor, have you had any experiences like that at all? Because you do a lot of ESP, but they may not be family members, might they?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've had any explicit experiences such as you've had. Obviously, I've done lots of like color ESP with
Yes.
you and with other people, and it's remarkable. So I do it with, with someone who lives in Texas, in Austin, and it works
Yeah.
really well. They don't have to be in the same room as you, which is
Yeah.
quite remarkable. I did have a question, which maybe others may have as well. So extrasensory perception, is that the same thing as intuition?
Yes, it is. Because later on, I was going to say psychology. What we're doing actually would be labeled as psychology. Psychology is a learned science. Extrasensory perception is actually very natural. It's part of the natural makeup of every human being. So one is a science, which is studied, and the other is natural. But again, you're able to move with the mind of the person that is sitting in front of you. So with extrasensory perception, because you're open your mind not only to that particular exercise, it's a very good exercise, literally to strengthen the mind, which is very physical, but also in addition, it adds spiritual value. Spiritual value means you're exposing yourself to other elements that are connected, say, with the spiritual, because then we're moving out to the seventh sense, of course. Very, very useful. It is still the gate in order to do that, but it's excellent question. It's intuition, gut reaction, all of those things. Really necessary. It's an evaluation of what you feel that people are thinking about, what they're going to do, hopefully, how they're going to execute their plan. Say you're in business or anything like that. That also falls under the heading of extrasensory perception, because you're trying to, you're moving beyond just beyond the normal forms of communication. When someone says something and they're shifty. So excellent question, absolutely. So what we're doing with ESP, we're developing the mind as well. And once in the group, I used to have quite a lot of bankers, and I also had traders, for the simple reason they're trying to enhance their awareness of what is going on around them. They're trying to enhance their awareness of the job that they're doing, and that is very much extrasensory perception. Because with extrasensory perception, as I said, you still have to concentrate. And just by coming to a group, meditating, you're already formulating the most basic exercise of any form of development, which is the calming of the mind. That's the first. It's the most important. Nothing else. Everything else falls into line after that. So first of all, everything has to first of all come into our mind. By saying that, I'm not talking if somebody's thinking, because we classify ourselves as spiritual link. So do I use ESP when I'm trying to contact my guide? And whichever guise you may feel your guide happens to be. Initially, it would be my want, my desire to contact a guide. But then the guide does not come in on extrasensory perception. They come out on a different wavelength. The guides come through the crown chakra, of course. And later on, we will explain that through the Vulcan gland at the nape of your neck. That is where extraterrestrials come in. Colors enter our mind through on both sides of the face, meaning just in front of the ears and up a little bit. There's sort of 3 type of dots, and if you like, and they are then the receptivity for any form of color, we say knowledge. So anyway, first of all, I would be thinking, yes, I would like my guide to come. And then the guide comes close, but he does not link with us in the forms of the spirit, because our own inner spirit, because they are an entity in their own right. So they come to us in the linking up with the aura as well, not over. No, I was just going to say not taking over our aura, which is spirit. Now I have to amend that a little bit, because what does happen when we're sitting in trance, or a person does transfiguration, which I also do, is that means my spirit, the spirit that is learning through my life, is just sort of put on hold on the back burner. And then the guide, my main guide would be, say, a protector. And whoever wishes to come through onto my face and body would then take over my body, my mind as well, possibly, to reflect to the person who needs that contact. So it's not really, so yes and no, yes and no. With all of these things, it's yes or no. Because what we're doing, we're actually breaking into bits and pieces spiritual development in all its forms, so that we can understand, we can question, reject, or accept. What do you think, Thor?
So I was going to ask, so, for example, all of our 5 known senses, they have like a
Yes.
bodily organ, like taste, smell, touch, sound, like they all have a bodily organ.
Yes.
Does ESP intuition have a bodily organ assigned to them, like the 5 others?
No, because it's etheric.
Okay.
Yeah, this is then the finer touch. We sometimes go through a colored tunnel, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I ask you to lick the sides, especially if it's red. Is it a cherry? Something really lovely, or an orange, or to smell it, or then to feel it. What texture does that color have? So it's a sensitivity that is singular to extrasensory perception. But from that extrasensory perception, say and we've done this as well in the group, you go into, let's say, a conference room or a meeting room when lockdown is lifted, of course, and we sit down, because we have senses even in our bottom, and you sit down, you can feel who was sitting in the chair you're now sitting in before. That is also extrasensory perception, and that can be so useful. If you put your hand on the side of a chair, on top of a desk, or anything like that, say out of your own environment, you can tell who was sitting there before, not name, size, and so on, but you can get the feeling of the personality that was there. Was there an argument going on? Was the tension high? Was it a calm atmosphere? All of that comes from extrasensory perception, which is a form of communication. And the extrasensory perception mankind has always had. It's the only form of communication we had for a very long time. Instead, very slowly, languages came into being, such as it was only mind to mind. And then, of course, as we had developed language, extrasensory perception sort of dwindled. And now it's virtually obsolete again, except for some indigenous types of people on the planet who are still very much, say, unspoiled from civilization. They still use that, but it means it's lost to us, but it's not gone. We can instigate it, and we can fuel it and into life again and use it. So it's only lost its potency, nothing else. It's lost its strength, of course, but there's still many, many ways in which we still need ESP, such as sometimes instinctively you shouldn't go down a road or something, an alley, and then maybe a little while later you find out there were riots going on, or there was a fire, or there was a bomb. That's all extrasensory perception. And the same thing applies, for instance, when you meet someone for the very first time, and we give an opinion about them very quickly, usually. And where do you think that opinion comes from? It's us reaching out. We're reaching out our extrasensory perception to feel the vibrations of that other individual. And of course, they're doing exactly the same thing. Either they can be an instant report, oh, wow, oh, yeah, wow. Or it can also be, of course, quite the opposite. Even though sometimes there's a rapport in spite of not seeing eye to eye, but there's something about the individual that has caught your attention. So with ESP, we can very easily just go back a week where we finished out with out of body, and also the out of body then into regression, how very easily they are all linked together. So the person that you may think, oh, wow, that's nice, they could have been with you in another lifetime where they were very supportive. Or possibly you don't like them. There's no reason. They haven't done nothing to you, nothing at all. It could even be a reflection from another time when they were anything but nice to you. So everything really works together in the same breath. So we all use it in many, many different ways. We use it to estimate what others are going to do, what moves they will perhaps make, and how they will make these moves. And again, we come to the very apt question of yours, Thor, and this has been put into a word. The guide said, it's psychology. But of course, ESP has much stronger reasons. ESP is the understanding of that power. We are trying to understand the power we're using. By understanding something, we can strengthen it. We can direct it. We know how to handle it. But psychology in itself is a scientific learning. It's a scientific development. The psychology, as I just said not so long ago, is literally, it's a learned science, which is fabulous. But if you have, say, that learned science of psychology because you're interested in it, and you couple that with a learning and a strengthening of your ESP, you have a very powerful means of helping other people. It's not just the scientific, it is the natural instinct that is within all of us. So what we're doing, of course, we're developing our psychic abilities with extrasensory perception. Of course, the psychic abilities are as long as a piece of string, as long as you're interested. Thor, anything about that? I'm just looking at something.
No, I think it's interesting what you said there in terms of like working with other people and helping other people, right? Because it's not just something to be used for one's own gains. It's also to understand how other people are doing, feeling, saying the right things at the right moment. If you're let's say you're a line manager in a business and you
Yes.
have a group of direct reports that you look after, and if you're able to pick up authentically how and what they're feeling and thinking, and you can like help them with that and do that through ESP, I think that it's a really interesting concept to think about, and I'm sure a lot of people would benefit from that.
It's a useful tool in all aspects. If you pick up that someone has had terrible news, they're still smiling, but perhaps they're withdrawn, whatever it is, and we can get the feeling that something is not quite right in their life. Maybe we won't jump at them, just jump down their necks. Maybe we'll just have a little bit more understanding. And that, of course, helps us as well. What goes around comes around. With a little bit of kindness and understanding, trust me, it comes back.
Yeah.
It really does. But ESP is such a valuable tool in just getting on with life, getting on with humanity. So
if someone was completely on their own, they didn't necessarily have anyone to practice with, how would they start improving their ESP?
Well, the natural tendencies of the human mind is to cheat. Maybe I'm only talking of myself, because I'm thinking of cards. Or if you have the right size, everything has to be exact. Your mind will remember if something is a little bit off. So you have, let's say, bits of paper or envelopes that each have a different color. And you move them around, just make certain you do not remember what you've done. Because I said our physical mind is really clever, so clever. Or you could have all greens and then only one red in the middle. And then you just extend your mind, extend calm. Everything takes time. It's not a fast food. That's all I can say. And that way you can actually increase that awareness. Or that person that is on their own, whenever you are on the phone or speaking to someone else, perhaps just try to get a feeling. Don't let anybody know what you're doing, because you might be wrong and you don't want to upset, of course. Just try to feel, oh, so Janet, are you all right, Janet? Oh, I'm fine. Why do you say that? I don't know, you're just a little bit tired. You're something nice, just maybe a bit tired. Yeah, well, you're right. I haven't slept all night. So you can test yourself on that extrasensory perception very well. What I have now suggested you do is still ESP, but it's now become an aura reading, which is again part of psychic development. Can you see how everything is really linked together?
Yeah, I suppose the other thing as well, which is really important, is to meditate, right? You have to be able to
Meditate.
calm your mind.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
And
it just won't work.
Absolutely. And that, again, we're talking about the physical benefits to other people, other mankind on the ESP. Meditation, of course, then gives our organs a respite, gives our whole system a respite, helps your hair to grow, helps to get rid of zits. They're often anxiety zits, helps us to control, let us say, eating disorders, drinking disorders. Everything comes through the mind, everything. And that's where we have to continue focusing on, is the mind. But it can be such fun. Everyone has. And of course, what I just said, it's an electrical force. It's the same thing if you liken it to, let's say, a radio. So I have a radio on, or I have Alexa on. Well, in order for me to say, Alexa, put on whatever song I want, there's still another station, another gadget, another computer that has the memory from my Alexa of the song I have asked for. So that computer is transmitting via airwaves to Alexa, which is plugged in, airwaves again. And that is how our mind is also works. It's on tiny airwaves. So Alexa is very receptive. It's an incoming call. And that is how we should function as well. It is an incoming call from someone else. So if somebody else is sending to us, either we are receptive or not. And usually, sometimes we get these messages when, let's say you're doing work on the computer. Now a lot of home work is occurring. You're still having to concentrate. And that's the first premise to meditation. So what's the big deal? You know, there is no big deal because everything is connected. Our physical life now is so desperately important, so important. That's why the psychic development, becoming aware of extrasensory perception, how it works, why it works, what it can do for you is important for our life, not for anything else. So that is the receiver, tiny little waves. And on those tiny little waves is exactly how colors are sent as well. Colors are sent across the universe faster than any form of thought. It is. So we're talking again, communication. And also the ESP. Now, it's nothing unusual, but if somebody very close to you has passed away, dead, you miss them terribly, you're mourning, you're sad, you're crying. Sometimes the grief is so high that actually the person that you are grieving for is able to come through, and that is extrasensory perception. You are then drawing through the power of love and need, you're drawing that personality close to you again. And it can be so strong, even this person has never had that experience before. They have not meditated, they have not trained, but their whole being is concentrating on the loss of this loved one, that the loved one is able to come through. Sometimes it is even a physical, obviously it's an apparition. You can't resurrect the dead, of course, but can be an apparition, and it can also culminate in speech as well. So that is, it's very, very, very probably. So I think that's very interesting. The person has not gone insane. It happens more often than not, but people do not tend to, let's say, talk about it. But when we come to another session, come to clairvoyance, it is ESP is at random. The loved one that you're mourning for, sending out the love, is singular. It's one-to-one again. Extrasensory perception, you're sending something one-to-one again. If you're picking up vibes or something from, from riots or whatever it happens, we have to be on Capitol Hill a couple of days ago. It's still, it's a crowd situation. That crowd instigated this one vibe. But that is another sort of situation. So the vibe that I'm talking about, which is the same vibe, the same electrical force that goes to the radio, that goes to color, goes to sound, that same dimensional vibe is how spirit move on as well. Spirit move on, it's like a layer cake of different vibrations, huge layer cake, obviously. And they also work on exactly the same vibration as color and sound. Color and sound. We had the sessions, didn't we, on color and sound, Thor, not hugely long ago, last year sometime, didn't we?
Yes, yeah, we did. Shall we start bringing the episode to a close?
I think that's a very good, absolutely very, very good. As a part of the, once we have attuned our senses, everyone has this ability to some extent. It's again, we come down to I want, I need, and I will do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
So, okay.
What's the positive message for the week?
Well, if we've all got that, why don't we all sort of calm our mind and look to the future?
Yeah.
And the future is positive.
Yeah.
All change brings something really, really good.
Yeah.
It really does. It's not by accident this has happened, and we can't always finger point to someone who started it. Everything has a reason, and everything has to start and end somewhere, and it will start and end somewhere.
Yeah.
It really will.
Excellent. Well, I really enjoyed this talk on ESP. It's such a great topic, and it's also something like meditation which anyone can engage with, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's so excellent. So yeah, thank you so much, Ines, and until next Friday.
Thank you, Thor. Thank you so, so much. Take care and have a good day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Spiritual Link, the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or want us to explore a topic, please reach out on our Instagram account @SpiritualLinkCo.